You could swim beside one of the deadliest objects on Earth and survive. That sounds impossible. But inside some nuclear facilities, there are pools so radioactive that a few seconds of direct exposure could kill you. Yet people can stand right next to them safely. And if you accidentally fell in, the result would be nothing like Hollywood promised. No glowing skin, no instant death, no superpowers. At first, because hidden beneath the surface is something far more disturbing. This giant blue pool is called a spent nuclear fuel pool. It's where nuclear fuel rods go after they've spent years inside a reactor. And these rods are not just hot. They're unimaginably hot. Around 2,800 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to melt metal. Hot enough to turn water into steam almost instantly. And even after they're used up, these rods stay dangerously radioactive for thousands of years. 10,000 years. That means some of the waste created today could still be lethal long after every city on Earth has changed beyond recognition. But here's the strange part. These deadly rods are sitting quietly underwater like forgotten trash at the bottom of a swimming pool. Why water? Because water does two jobs at once. First, it cools the rods down. Without constant cooling, temperatures would rise fast enough to trigger catastrophic damage. But second, water acts like an invisible shield. The hydrogen inside the water absorbs and scatters radiation before it can reach you, which means standing near the pool is surprisingly safe. And that's where the illusion begins. Because the moment you fall in, your brain expects death. But death doesn't arrive. At least not yet. The second you hit the water, panic takes over. You expect burning pain, radiation sickness, maybe your skin peeling apart instantly. Instead, the pool feels warm, around 30 degrees Celsius. Less like toxic waste and more like an oversized hot tub. And that's when your survival instincts get confused. Because everything looks wrong. Beneath you, glowing blue light dances through crystal clear water. The fuel rods sit silently below, almost beautiful. Calm. Still. Like they're harmless. But that blue glow has a terrifying name. Cherenkov radiation. It happens when charged particles move through water faster than light can travel inside that water. Not faster than light in space, but fast enough to create an eerie nuclear shockwave. And this is where it gets weird. The glow itself isn't what kills you. In fact, if you stay near the surface, you might be completely fine. The water above the rods protects you. It absorbs most of the dangerous radiation before it ever reaches your body. So while your mind screams that you're swimming in death, physics quietly keeps you alive. But only if you follow one rule. Do not go deeper. Because every meter downward changes everything. The closer you get to the rods, the weaker the shielding becomes. Radiation intensity spikes violently. Your body starts absorbing doses that living tissue was never designed to handle. And the scary part? You wouldn't feel it immediately. Radiation is silent. No smell, no pain, no warning. Your cells would begin tearing apart long before your brain realized something was wrong. But that's not even the craziest part. In theory, you could float near the surface for hours without serious harm. Longer than you'd survive in many public swimming pools filled with bacteria and chemicals. Which means one of the most dangerous places on Earth can also look strangely peaceful. And that contradiction is exactly what makes it terrifying. Now imagine something goes horribly wrong. Not with you. With the pool itself. Because these pools are only safe as long as the cooling system keeps running. Water is constantly circulated to carry heat away from the fuel rods below. Shut that system down, and the countdown begins immediately. At first, nothing looks different. The water stays calm. The room stays quiet. No alarms. No explosions. But underneath the surface, temperatures begin climbing. Slowly, then faster. And that's when things change. The water starts evaporating. Bit by bit, the level drops. The rods become less submerged, less shielded, more exposed. Radiation levels surge upward. Then the heat becomes uncontrollable. Without cooling, the zirconium cladding around the fuel rods can react with steam and produce hydrogen gas. The same kind of chain reaction that contributed to disasters like Zero. And suddenly this quiet pool becomes a ticking bomb. But here's the twist nobody expects. The real danger was never the water. It was losing the water. That's what flips the entire story upside down. Everything protecting you is also the only thing preventing catastrophe. The pool isn't just storage. It's life support for material too dangerous to exist unshielded. And yet, from the outside, It looks almost boring. Workers walk nearby casually. Cameras film beside it. Sometimes the surface is so still it looks fake, which makes your brain underestimate it. Humans fear things that look dangerous. Fire, sharks, explosions. But nuclear danger hides behind silence. That's why spent fuel pools are psychologically disturbing. They force you to accept that something can be unimaginably deadly without looking threatening at all. And what happens next gets even stranger. Because compared to what you already experience every day, this pool might not be as radioactive as you think. Right now, radiation is already passing through your body. Every second. That sounds horrifying, until you realize it's completely normal. Radiation exists everywhere. In the air, in the ground, even inside your own body. Bananas contain radioactive potassium. Airplane flights expose you to cosmic radiation. Medical scans blast your cells with doses far stronger than everyday exposure. Even your phone and electronics release tiny traces. So when people imagine a spent nuclear fuel pool, they picture instant mutation and cinematic horror. But reality is much more unsettling. Reality is invisible. Because near the surface of the pool, your radiation exposure could actually be lower than what you experience naturally over time in daily life. And this is where it gets really uncomfortable. The human brain is terrible at understanding invisible threats. We fear dramatic things we can see. But slow, silent danger? We ignore it constantly. That's why nuclear energy creates such intense psychological fear. Not because it always behaves like a monster, but because when it fails, the consequences become unforgettable. And yet, modern facilities are engineered around layers of protection. Thick containment systems, redundant cooling, radiation shielding, constant monitoring. Everything designed to stop disaster before it starts. Still, the spent fuel remains. Year after year, decade after decade. Even after the rods stop powering reactors, they continue radiating heat and danger long into the future. Long after the engineers who built them are gone. Think about that. A single fuel rod can outlive civilizations. And somewhere beneath calm blue water, those rods sit silently waiting, still dangerous thousands of years later. But that's not even the deepest question. Because eventually humanity has to decide something terrifying. What do you do with waste that remains deadly longer than recorded human history itself? And nobody truly has a perfect answer. So if you actually fell into a spent nuclear fuel pool today, what would happen? Against every instinct you have, you'd probably survive. You'd surface gasping for air, your heart pounding, expecting your body to melt apart. But nothing dramatic happens. Not immediately. The water protects you. The shielding works. As long as you stay near the surface and far from the rods, you might walk away completely unharmed. And honestly, the pool could be cleaner than your local public swimming center. No germs, no dirt, no mystery substances floating beside you. Just ultra-purified water, hiding one of humanity's most dangerous inventions below. That contrast is what makes the entire thing feel unreal. Because beneath that calm surface lies material capable of poisoning life for millennia. And yet the barrier between safety and catastrophe is shockingly thin. Just water. Remove it, and the entire environment transforms from peaceful to lethal, which reveals something deeply unsettling about modern civilization. Some of the deadliest forces humans have ever created are controlled by systems so ordinary that most people would never notice them. Pumps, pipes, water flow. Simple things standing between order and disaster. But here's the final twist. The spent fuel rods aren't even the end of the story. Scientists are already exploring reactors that could potentially reuse old nuclear waste as fuel again, turning yesterday's deadly leftovers into tomorrow's energy source. Which means the waste we fear today might someday become valuable. Or it could remain buried beneath water for thousands of years, waiting for future civilizations to deal with decisions we made long before they existed. And that leaves one terrifying question hanging in the air. If humanity disappears one day, who keeps the pools running?